Look me up on Google, search the classics, you crazy bastard. Hold me up and pull me down. It's a battle royale in the eye of the storm. Drowning in the shallows when the path is getting narrow. I'ma ride it out on this broken arrow. Fuck it. Hold me up.
Welcome to Unfiltered Idiots,
where we chat shit about real shit,
talk shit about those not giving a shit,
wondering and complaining why they ain't got shit. Here we are, ladies and gents, episode number 4. So now we know where we're at. We won't keep confusing you guys. We just have to, make it difficult. That's just
we like to make things difficult for
Absolutely.
ourselves.
If you don't make things difficult, I mean, what's the fun in making things like
I think we
normal
make things
and easy?
a little bit too difficult for ourselves,
Yeah.
but we're learning.
But that's okay. It's like taking the long cut versus the shortcut. But you can find so much stuff on the long cut that maybe the shortcut you just missed. Went right past.
In season 2, we're gonna have shit popping up. Yeah. And it's gonna be like
season 3, changing outfits, mid-season, mid-post wardrobe.
We're already talking about it. What's up, guys? My name is Kenny. Coming to you live on Unfiltered Idiots. Again, Aurora, Colorado. For those that are just turning in for the first time, from Aurora, Colorado. I have 2 kids. I'm having a great time doing this with you guys, and again, getting a lot of great feedback, and I'm loving it. How are you doing, Wes?
Same thing, man. Again, Wes, aka Metro, also from Aurora, Colorado. 2 kiddos as well. My daughter just announced today. I've known, but she just announced today that she's going to be having a baby, a little baby boy.
Can we talk? I don't mean to interject on this. So I sent you a text earlier, right? I don't think I can call you Grandpa.
No,
you're too young for.
I told my daughter that her son is gonna have to call me G Money. First of all, I've been convinced for like a month that it was gonna be a girl because I've never seen the Chinese birth calendar wrong.
Yeah.
And dude, it's weird. It said they did a blood test and it's supposed 99% accurate that it's gonna be a boy. So I've been trying to get her to name her Xena the Warrior Princess. Just like we're joking, obviously.
Xena the Warrior Princess.
But yeah, so found out. I found out just right at like Christmas time. Yeah. But we've been keeping like secret until basically my daughter announced it. Technically last night. Yeah. But, anyway, so like I said, man, two kids. I'm about to have technically a grandchild, which is pretty wild.
Congratulations to you, your family, Morgan. And her boyfriend.
Yeah, her and Jeremy. Jeremy, shout out to you. Love you, bro. Love you, little son. Yeah. He's actually taller than me, but he's still littler than me, so that's okay. Yeah. And he'll see that. He'll be like, got it. It's okay. I love him.
Jeremy, I can't wait to meet you.
He's got a good beard, though. I'll give him that. Got a good beard going. Good kid. He's a good dude, man. Yeah. And me, I like to ask, especially young people, what they're working on. Right. Not because I'm trying to be mean. I'm trying to develop young people because the school systems, for the most part, deliberately don't do it. Mm-hmm. A lot of our society, people are just so busy, which is exactly what they want. They want you working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, some people, so that you don't have the time to potentially raise your children the right way. Yeah. So it's funny because when I first met him, it was one of the first things I do. It's just how I am. You know that. And I started asking what are you working on? Because I was more, curious about him. Right. And then
did you intentionally scare the shit out of him?
I think they took it. I think I think he thought I didn't but I really did like him because he had answers, man. Yeah. Like Jeremy, you had answers. That's great. And so that was all I wanted to hear. And then continually, like I would do with my own 2 kids, I'm gonna encourage him every step of the way
I
to
definitely
do your own thing.
Can't sit here and say that I haven't done that. I mean, you can ask Gina. Yeah. What I used to do to her boyfriends, they were put through hell. So the fact that you took it a little easy on Jeremy, I don't know if I'm happy with that but you sound like a good kid, man. You sound like a good kid.
Yeah.
You got a baby on the way, so you're really into some shit.
Yeah, and I told him, I said the motivational talks are only going to increase because now I'm going to use your child in all the most positive ways. But I'll absolutely be like, hey, man, we don't know the name. I won't say what names are out there because we don't want anybody stealing her name, but she's told me a couple of cool names.
Little
that
Kenny?
Yeah, I was like, I've been trying to feed her like super like crazy names. That some of them are actually kind of cool, but no. So, anyways, guys. So first and foremost,
off topic there, guys.
And that's the point of the podcast is we
it's
have
not really
no problem.
off topic, Morgan. Congratulations,
Congrats.
guys.
Love you, sweetheart.
That's a
My little
big,
baby girl.
that's a big deal.
Super big deal.
The rest of your life is over. Trust me.
It's all. No, just kidding. No, and kiddos are great, man. They will.
Yeah.
They will.
We love our kids.
They will motivate you. I've told her like she changed my life. My son coming, the same thing. It was just it just gives us motivation as parents, and that's why we're doing this. I mean, again, to get back to why we're doing this is the information that's out there. There's just so much misinformation and deliberately like people are sending kids messaging that they know is false, and they're trying to get everybody in this uproar, and it's happening on every facet. So one of the first things I want to talk about, we're going to talk about some sports today too. We're going to tie all this kind of in.
Because there's a lot of stuff going on in the sports world, so I kind of wanted to put that in there in the podcast too. But there's a lot of things going on in the financial world and the corporate world too. So
and so and we want to talk about a lot of different stuff, guys. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about this is we really just want to get information out there. We want to try to find the best sources, all that, and get that to you. But one of the things I saw this week that really we've harped on Amazon and Jeff Bezos, and I'm going to continue to do it. And it's not just Amazon; it's just everybody knows them. It's like Walmart. The Waltons are the same way. Your top 2,000 companies in in this country, and I could probably go further than that, are all virtually very similar. They don't pay tax, right? There's all these things I could just go, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that really frustrated me this week was we all heard about Jeff Bezos stepping down. That happened,
which is a big shocker to me. But then the more you look into why he may have stepped down, you kind of understand like regulations are coming and just all kinds of.
Well, there's also the lawsuit, and that's what I think.
Talk about
now they
man.
said that wasn't tied to it, but again, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck.
So what
right?
lawsuit are you referring to?
So it's $62 million that they're going to have to pay because they were taking the tips or wages from drivers when they were being tipped. And I'm not sure if there's any other employees but I know the drivers were the main ones that when they were being tipped, Amazon was keeping those tips, and the drivers were not aware that they got tips, and they got caught. So my logic, and it's simple to look at that, Amazon and Jeff Bezos has known this for probably weeks, if not months.
Do you actually think that that's the reason, though? I mean, $62 million. He could have made that go away.
Yeah, but
without
look at
anything coming to light.
It's not really the money. That's not a problem. It's the public image. You're taking money. After making $86 billion last year,
his employees.
Now you're taking money from your employees that you only paid your average employee $28,000, which we talked about.
Yeah.
So think about me personally.
Yeah.
I think the dots are connecting.
I personally don't think it's that.
Yeah.
I honestly, and that's I honestly think that, he doesn't pay taxes. He doesn't do all of these other things.
Might just have enough money to go do whatever the hell he wants to do.
Well, yeah.
But I thought about that too.
And I feel like sometimes we do think about things a little bit too much, right? I mean, he's the second richest man in the world. I feel like the dude is just gonna go take his money and go play.
And
that's personally me.
Maybe it pushed him again. And I said I can't prove it. Just to me, I look at those things and go, dude, what? Like, I just was shitty, and whether or not it's why he did it or not, it's just really shitty that they did that after making the kind of money they did.
It's definitely shitty, man. I think that's a horrible thing to do, especially when what did you say their average wage was?
28,000.
As a driver.
Yeah, just their average employee.
Okay, gotcha.
So they had 798,000 employees. Their average employee made $28,000 last year. So that's where I want to tie this into. We talk about all these people, and the vast majority, like high 90% of these, kids were born with a substantial amount of money. As I've always said, the moment they came out of the vagina, well, literally the moment they were created, right? Their parents were worth, if not tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions, maybe like the Hiltons or the like billions of dollars. And Jeff Bezos was no stranger to money. Like his family had money. Again, he created a really cool app. I'll give it to him. I'm not saying you can't make money. Just saying you should be forced to pay a livable wage.
Yeah,
and he still made $86 billion last year. And you paid a livable wage, dude, and you paid your taxes. I'd probably back off of you.
I've been accused of giving Jeff Bezos a little bit too much, leeway in the way I think about him, because I feel like, because I'm the total opposite, right? I kind of feel like, hey, you make your money and you do what you got to do to keep that business running, and if that's the way it runs, good for you. If you're able to kind of sidetrack paying your employees that livable wage, is it right? No. In my thinking, is it right? But is it like, okay, like everyone else is doing it, right?
Yeah, and that's kind
and
of the problem.
I can't say no. I get it. I get it. But if I was in the same situation, Wes, if I was in the same situation, would I be making these same decisions? That's all I'm saying.
And again, and this is why I talked about it a couple of times about the legislation, because if you were the person who won 798, I mean that was a cash option of the Mega Millions, like last week or whatever it was. It was like 760 or something like that. Anyway, well, a lot of money. If you just came upon that money, I'm not going to tell you that, oh my God, everybody, even people that have good moral compasses, even people that are good people, are going to want to try to not pay as much as they can in taxes, right? Yeah. I'm a small business person. I try to do every little thing I can to write off stuff. Mm-hmm. But again, where my dilemma with it is that if that's why you take it out of their hands, if they were forced to pay a livable wage, right? I don't care. Like I said, if you're abiding by virtually all the same things that we have to, in other words, paying your 25% taxes, paying livable wage, like all that kind of stuff, then I could care less if you made $85 billion.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you 100% of the way in the way you're thinking in that. I think that if we were in that situation, we may think differently. That's all I'm saying.
100%, and that's what I'm saying. That's why you take.
You're not going to tell. I could just see me right now. I'm worth $80 billion, right? And I'm like, Wes, you're not going to tell me how I'm going to spend my money or how I'm going to allocate my money.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's why I agree that we do that, but we also then, again, if we have that legislation there where it takes it out of the person's hands, because I'm not saying that Jeff Bezos himself isn't a good guy in a sense. He could be a really nice guy. What I'm saying is that when your type of people, the wealthy elites are writing these laws by bribing politicians, right? When you know that you're writing the laws to benefit you, classic example of what just happened with the whole Reddit thing, right? Look at what they use the power and money to go in and literally stop people like myself and yourself from doing exactly what they do and manipulate the market. And because it didn't work out in their favor, they use their money, power, their media connections, all that to stop it. And now here we are, GameStop stocks, and again we'll get to that another day maybe, but like it plummeted, and it's exactly what they wanted to do. And now you've got all these people on Reddit. That's what I talked about doing, right? It was gonna do that, and that's exactly what they wanted. And personally, I felt that when you sent me that text about how you weren't able to buy and they were selling some of my shares. It was just like,
I felt that. It was like they're deliberately stopping him from doing that. But again, I think you also sent me a text and you're like, the wealthy, they always advertise they want the working class to invest. Yeah. They want us to go out there and invest. They want a free market, blah, blah, blah. But when that happened, when that went down, it kind of hit the fan. So, I felt that, man.
And
definitely.
And so the reason why I bring this up and we want to tie it into what's been going on, is because both of us are huge sports fans as well. And so I bring that up in the fashion that I'm trying to explain to people that we do not have a true meritocracy in our financial system, like in almost anything, right? Most of these kids are born into money. Their parents are paying for them to go to Ivy League schools. They're already entrenched in that community, right? They've already are friends. I have a client that went to school with Mark Zuckerberg's sister. I believe her name is Ariel. And she tells me flat out, like, I mean, these are kids. My cousin went to Harvard. Like, several people in my family went Ivy League. I believe the count, I mean, this is generational that I can think of, but 11 people. 3 Harvard, 3 Cornell, 2 Vassar, a couple Yale. So, I mean, it's just like, this is factual. You guys can look this up. And I'm not trying to brag. I'm just explaining that I've seen different lifestyles from what I had. And I'm not, again, doesn't mean everybody has to have the same. Just explaining that don't look at these people like they went through a true meritocracy and they started at the same playing field.
Like they started out like you or I.
Whereas like sports, for example, and I would say music probably is the next closest we have, and then maybe something like art, maybe. But sports, for sure, you have to be able to play. And so when we talk about sports and tie this in, is exactly that. It's the true meritocracy that we have. So like Nolan Arenado, dude, it don't matter if he was poor, rich, black skin, white skin, brown skin, purple skin. It doesn't matter. He could play. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, guess what? And these same people go and demonize them and go, oh, they're overpaid. Yeah, they're overpaid athletes. Excuse me, wait, what? Yeah. Overpaid athletes? Yeah. Like the CEO of Chase Bank, only because he got chastised, was making 150 some million. I think about like 7, 8, 9 years ago. Yes, this year, because they've been hammered so much, he only made like 45 million. The CEO of Chase Bank. Like
the thing is,
so why isn't the best quarterback making that?
Right.
You know? Like why not?
The thing that kind of irritates me is what you said. People have a problem with athletes going and getting their money, right? How can you dictate to a player when they have that ability and the fair market value is $125 million, right? How can you have any weigh in on that? Yeah. If they're worth that amount of money, if the team is willing to pay that, that has nothing to do with me. I'm all about people getting their money. Absolutely.
Guys, you're welcome to go find people. I'm more than happy to blast anybody who doesn't. But you have people like Cardi B, and again, they were saying, if I'm going to be paying these kind of
paying their taxes.
Oh yeah, no, dude, they talk about it all the time. Yeah. They talk about how they're paying this percentage of taxes, and they said she had a whole thing that she put out and said, if she's going to pay this kind of taxes, she has no problem doing it, but she wants the taxes to go towards things that are actually going to be helping a community, i.e. schooling, right. Not spending $3.3 trillion on our military. That's overkill. It's ridiculous. If you just think about those numbers, that's bananas. We talked about that, I think last podcast, maybe one before that. But $52 billion would have paid everybody's in college's tuition this last year. Yeah. And we increased our military budget by $220 billion. So like you think about that and you go, these people are paying taxes. Again, if you guys have somebody that didn't, you're going to find 1 out of 100 who maybe figured out, oh, I'm not going to pay some loopholes. Whereas you got thousands of billion, right, that are not paying. Yeah. And so you're only going to find 1 out of 1,000 of them that are doing it. So it's almost the opposite. And so these athletes, like Nolan, right, like we were talking about him, fantastic athlete. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He pays his taxes. He's literally going out every day working his ass off. Yeah. Right? Like, and we both like the gym. Is it like, what do you think a day like Aaron goes through? Like, or Nolan, sorry, Arenado. Sorry, what do you think a day is like?
Just full on athletics.
Yeah. I mean,
full on working on his craft. Full on that's his life, right? But the thing that I wanted to kind of get into with Nolan is, there's a lot of people that are, and I'm wearing a Colorado Rockies shirt right now. There's a lot of people that are like literally boycotting the Rockies just because he was I'll say a top 10. Because I don't know a lot about baseball, but I do know that he was a top 10 talent in the Major League in MLB.
And he had to come up through every channel of it. He was in the minors. And
he came
true meritocracy. Yeah, he worked his ass off and got there.
And it was just the thing that the Rockies have become the major league farm team for the Dodgers.
They've been like that for long. Really
it was just kind of like that was the stamp of approval. We are the major league farm team, and sending that kind of a talent away from Denver. And then again, on that side too, is like he didn't like management. He didn't like all that other stuff. So, that's one thing that I wanted to kind of get into.
Well, would you like So again, would you like management in the fashion that if you were somebody who's been working your tail off, you're at the pinnacle. You believe you're making money. You want to win. I mean, at some point, these guys and women too. They realize, man, I'm one of the greatest out there. Yeah. Now I'm gonna get paid. Like I get that. Yeah. So now they're gonna go, okay, I want to win, man. Because at the end of the day, you can have all this money, but boy, those walking by those and just the feeling of winning. Anybody who's played sports, dude, there's a feeling there. So what do you, would you be happy with them? Just
no,
being,
absolutely
like,
not. Just because the Rockies are they're known for having great talent, right?
Tory,
and and they actually develop that talent inside of their system, but then they trade them away. So
and I said, let's say Story. I was
Trevor Story.
I went to say Trevor Story. I was like Tory. Trevor Story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's ranked the #1 shortstop in the league. And I
just
hate to tell y'all, like, I'm not a Rockies fan. I'm not against Rockies. I'm a Cubs fan. But
guy is,
I hate to tell you guys that, like, I probably see them trading Story at some point too, and it's just kind of like, man, they know, because here's what was the genius behind the Rockies and getting Coors Field where it is. Anybody who's not here in Denver, Coors Field is like plopped right in the middle of like the downtown area. That's it's called Lodo's, super popular.
Great location.
So people just go there and flock there. Before game, they'll go to the games. This is kind of like a fun activity to do, and they walk right outside. And there's just like blocks and blocks both ways of bars and restaurants and clubs and all that. So it's kind of like the pregame type thing. They go there at 7 o'clock or maybe like a 3 o'clock game, something like that. And I think the Munfords just know that. They'll just turn right around.
So you think that they know that that's a constant? And
they've been one of the top average attendance in the whole Major League.
I agree. And
like top 10 every year.
Denver or Colorado fans are diehard for their teams, right? Yeah. They might sit here and say that they're gonna boycott, but again, we're diehards for our team.
I don't know if the Rockies they are. I think they are
for
they just like to go have fun, and it's a cool place. As a Cubs fan,
really
anybody
cool,
who's been to Wrigleyville, right where Wrigley Field is very similar. Yeah. It's like bam, and there's all these it's been there since like 1913, I think it was. I think it's the second oldest by 1 year, next to Fenway, something like that. Sorry, Cubs fans.
I don't know.
It's 1903 and 1913, but anyway, it's been there a long time, and same kind of principle you get, but that area, you also got to think about the people that have been there. You have generations upon generations. Our generation, right? A lot of my friends were born here, but Colorado has 11% natives. We're the lowest in the country. So when it comes to really like roots, just like mine, a lot of people are from the Midwest, New York, California. So
I didn't really even think about that, or the thought didn't even cross my mind about the Rockies experience until you just mentioned that to me. Because I'm not a baseball fan. I'm not a Rockies diehard, but I love that experience. Yeah. I love going to Lodo, downtown Denver, and just bar hopping, and then going to the game, and then afterwards you go back out. So that you may be right, man.
Opening day down there is wild. I mean, I've gone to opening day. I don't know, probably a half dozen times in 20 years.
Man, I think you might be onto something with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people down there when it was every now and again. Denver's typically is, for all you watching that live here. We have the most sunny days out of any metropolitan city in the world. So we have a lot of blue skies. Now it could be some days where it's like 12, 13, 14. I mean, that's not very common, but, yesterday today is 64 degrees. But anyway, really nice. But man, because that's sometimes those spring games, I've seen like blizzard conditions down there, and people are just still there. And then the next year it's 75 degrees and beautiful. And that's more often. It's usually like that it's nice out. But that's for a home opener in the early spring. Yeah. And so people just flock to it.
I just think that, long story short on that whole Rockies thing, I wanted to bring that up because I think that the ownership should start doing a little bit better for their fans.
I mean, they got screwed. I saw some articles about it.
$50 million salary still.
Yeah, well, they paid St. Louis, but then they got all they got back was like a handful of some prospects.
And his contract is up. Or next year. Well, not. Yeah. There was a buyout or something that he could have done next year, so they could have done it another year. He could have. Yeah.
They got shamed. An article that I saw, and I don't know. I don't want to, butcher it, but they basically said in a paragraph or two, but it basically said that they're going to go down is Houston as being one of the worst managed
For the Houston Texans.
Well,
because I heard that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, sorry, I was gonna say not the Astros. Yeah, I was talking about the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah, and they said it's going to go down, and so we'll talk about because that's another one that just hit was Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you see these again, and kind of tying back into the corporate world, the political world. When you have bad ownership, it's going to typically go right down into like creating bad teams, no matter it's sports,
bad culture,
right? Yeah,
bad just everything.
Yeah, and so look at the Texans. I mean, they get rid of DeAndre Hopkins, and they got David Johnson's a good running back, but I mean at the end of the day, the Cardinals won that deal by a landslide, and that's kind of what happened. That's really what is happening and going to happen with the Rockies. And it's sad to see that because again, you see these owners knowing, for example, in the NFL that they get profit sharing regardless. So you can have kind of a crappy product on the field.
That's the thing, though, is like we as the people need to start letting these ownerships know that we're not going to watch this bad product year after year. Just like I'll segue into my Denver Broncos. I'm probably the biggest Denver Bronco fan ever. And I'm not used to the last 6 years, right? Like the last 6 or 7 years, we've just been terrible.
Well, understand why you guys are called the Denver Donkeys, because for a long time that's what it was like. Y'all are getting beat down. I'll give you guys credit though.
I'm 38.
Yeah.
And within
Pat Bowlen took over. He was great.
Last years, I've had 8 or 9 bad seasons.
Yeah.
Since I've been watching the Broncos.
I just like to give you guys crap, but the reality of the truth is, over like a 30-year stretch that Pat Bowlen was the Broncos owner. They were the most winning franchise in the NFL. The Patriots obviously are right behind them, and now they'll have that crown. But for like a 30-year stretch, he was the most. And so, again, exactly my point.
Bad
ownership. It happened to the Cubs too.
Bad ownership. Bad product.
Yeah, and it happened to the Cubs too, man. The Cubs, when their new owners took over, they're huge Cub fans. They live in Winnetka, which is actually where my father and grandfather were born. Winnetka, North Chicago. And man, they went in, they start spending money, they start caring. What happened? The Cubs win a World Series. They've been contenders. They've been you see it with, like I said, and we segued into that political spectrum. We gotta stop putting our vote, our dollar, all of that stuff behind bad leadership. Right? When the Rockies screw up, or Mitch McConnell screws up, or Nancy Pelosi, we gotta stop giving them our hard-earned vote and our hard-earned money until they actually do things that are going to be for for their fans, for the people. And that's why we're tying this into that, guys, is because it really shows you, you can literally see, Houston Texans, bad ownership. Now Deshaun Watson wants out. In my opinion, I think he's number 2 to maHoLmes.
Yeah.
But I would argue that if he got to come into maHoLmes' situation, I don't know that his numbers might not be better.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, if you watch his game this last season, unbelievable. That roster was flat out garbage.
It was the one of the worst rosters.
Dude.
I mean, just to have someone of his caliber have such a crappy team, right? It's just
and then be demanding a trade.
Yeah.
It's just like.
Yeah, and could you imagine being a Houston Texan fan? Knowing that you have that sort of talent. I kind of felt that way when we had Peyton Manning. It's like, we have a world-class quarterback, and then to have...
Well, even Elway kind of went through that. There's a period where they were talking about trading. He just took a little bit to develop.
But just to think about the Houston Texans and their fan base and having to go through, because he will get traded or he'll sit out, and there will be there will be movement.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think it's a very if I wanted to put a percentage on it, I would probably say I am confident that 90% chance he gets traded.
Yeah.
And he's going to use his leverage and say, I'm just going to sit out. And sure, they could fine him, they could do all that stuff.
Yeah, he's not
games.
worried about that.
Yeah,
he's worried about, you know, in NFL years, you're on the clock as soon as you get on that field or you're on a team. Your years start clicking like that. So any wasted years in an NFL career is terrible to a player. So I think that he's prepared to sit out.
Oh yeah.
Because he doesn't want to get hurt. He doesn't want to get hurt because, you know, you get one injury on the field, you're out forever, right? So
well, and like we talked about a few minutes ago about how when you know that you're at the pinnacle of whatever it might be, especially sports, like we said, the true meritocracy that is sports, you know you're going to get paid. So again, who was it that we just saw? Oh, Dak Prescott did that. And I feel so bad for him.
Dak should have taken that money, man.
But at the end of the day, guess what?
Dak should have taken
now
the
he
money.
might be somebody who's in play. And as a Bears fan, trust me, these are the things that have just chapped our asses because there was no logic in my mind, and I have posts of mine to prove it.
Yeah.
There was I think about 400,000 fans that were polled 2 days before that draft that had Trubisky, maHoLmes, Watson, right? And even the fans chose, I think it was like 30-some% had chose Deshaun Watson, and there was like 20-something that had Patrick maHoLmes, and there was like 17 for Deshaun Kaiser because he's a Notre Dame guy, so they're big Notre Dame. And then after that, I think it was Joshua Dobbs and then Trubisky. So the fans, yes, Trubisky was better than Kaiser and Dobbs, but at the end of the day, what the Bears should have done in that draft was even the fans were more right than their stupid ass scouts. And I posted about it 2 days before, saying how great Patrick maHoLmes was.
Well, everyone's, especially when you're on the scouting team or you're involved in those transactions, you want the hottest thing.
Yeah.
Right? So he was the hottest thing probably at that time, but then, you know,
it's a new shiny toy.
It's a new shiny toy, and when you get in the NFL, some of these, and trust me, being a Broncos fan, I know. We've had so many first-round draft picks that are just aren't even anywhere near our team, or even playing in the NFL. I get it. So it's just a gamble.
It is hard, but I mean, there's some guys, you know, like the Trevor Lawrences, the Justin Fields. Like this year, there's going to be somebody who probably will take. And I'm not saying Zach Wilson's not going to be good. He's had some really good numbers. He's been playing, I think, 3 or 4 years. Phenomenal numbers, but he's also playing at BYU. Not knocking on it, just explaining that like there's a big difference of playing at Big 12 like Ohio State or right like or with Clemson, well, and that's Trevor Lawrence, but it is saying like there's a big difference of that. And so when you saw Deshaun Watson tearing up, I mean, they put up like a 50 burger on what was arguably one of the best defenses of Alabama and ever in college, but they said and he put up 50 points on him. You know, and you're just going, why would you guys have drafted somebody? And now here the Bears are about to have to pay a king's ransom in any team. And we'll talk about who we think are going to potentially get him. But, you know, all the teams that are, that are even in the hunt or in the market to get the quarterback.
Broncos
3 first rounds.
If you're watching this, I don't care if you have first rounds for the next 10 years. Plus Von Miller. Plus,
you don't want to give up that much.
Plus, yeah, you do.
Listen, I know you. If you have one of the top quarterbacks, but you still got to have that team.
Bye.
Yeah, you still got to have a team, and I do agree with you. But what sucks as a Bears fan, like you guys, I mean, shit. I think I don't remember what the Broncos drafted that year, but they couldn't have been too far from Kansas City. And
I don't think that we were drafting a quarterback that year because we had. What's his face?
I thought, you guys were on the Brock project.
Brock
Osweiler.
Yeah, that was Brock Osweiler.
But I mean, at the same point, man, like, you know, and we've all heard the stuff, right? Tom Brady, Joe Montana were both 6th-round picks. You look at Aaron Rodgers, he went 26th overall. So this happens, and I get it. But, dude, I don't know. To me, I really do think that it's people wanting to look like they're the smartest people in the room.
Yeah.
And they're wanting to try to show off that they found the guy that or the girl that, you know, was not on everyone's radar. And then they either, the 1 out of 10 of those that, like, you know, the Tom Brady's that, hell, not even 1 out, the 1 in a thousands or whatever, right, that pan out, they go, oh, look it, you know. But the reality was, you know, they had 999 of them that were like, you know, that didn't work out. You're like, dude, all you guys,
That was clearly luck.
Yeah, just kind of like, yeah, we'll take this. Like,
don't sit here and tell me that you thought Brady was gonna do.
Dude,
anything.
he was like a fourth string. They only kept four string. Like, if you've ever seen a story about him, they almost cut him, and then like they just kept saying, well, there's something about this kid. And then I believe they drafted another guy who's gonna be Drew Bledsoe's back, like his replacement. Bledsoe got hurt. The other gentleman got hurt. I can't remember his name, but I think it started with a B as well. And
they're still good friends to this day. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And Tom Brady
went in, and
it was just like
the rest is history.
You're like, holy shit, dude.
But again, so they just had paid Drew Bledsoe $100 million back in that day. They gave him a $100 million contract.
The Patriots had a great team,
but they could not take Brady off the field.
It's kind of like what Patrick Mahomes got to come into. So again,
without Smith,
very similar, where he got to come into a team that was already been in the playoffs multiple years in a row. He's legendary coach, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick.
Patrick Mahomes sat his first 2 years, right?
So, no, he played the last game of the season. Because he threw 4 touchdowns.
Well, yeah, what I mean.
He threw
Dude,
4
that's
TDs
what
on you guys.
No,
the last game of the season.
How do you remember that?
I have like a memory.
How do you remember something like that?
I have a steel trap memory. I don't know.
That
weird.
game just flashed in front of me.
I would not remember that game either if I was I'd be like, oh, God.
That's so funny because I'm like, wow, that kid is amazing.
I'm really good about memory. I like to read a lot. And I told everybody I'm a nerd. So
and I think that's when the Chiefs were like, we can get rid of Alex Smith now.
Oh, 100%.
We're
Dude,
good.
I argue that you should know.
You just did that to me, man. Yeah, that's crazy. Sorry, guys.
You should probably know. Here's my opinion, and by all means, I'm not an NFL coach. I played football most of my life. I played soccer as well, probably even more so. Now it's probably about even. But anyway, it's like I could see somebody even playing in a competitive league that I play in. I could see somebody, and within the first probably 2 series, especially throwing a ball, I could literally be like, yeah, that dude doesn't got it.
Yeah.
He ain't got it. And like, there's
there's a lot of
not a bad quarterback, but
Trubisky. If you looked at him, if you were on the practice field, you would say he has it.
Yeah, but nobody's saying that these guys can't play. I mean, by all means, like if I saw Mitchell running around or Drew Lock running around, in our league. They'd be the best quarterbacks in our league for sure. Now we've had some ex-NFL players in our league. Don't get me wrong, like Darius Watson's in the league for like 6-7 years, maybe longer than that. Shout out to Darius Watson, super cool dude, man, good dude. He's down in the ATL now. But anyway, so these guys can play by all stretch. It's just, but when you're comparing them to the level of talent that they're comparing to, right? So. I use this another sports analogy to kind of compare our country, right? And this is something that drives me bananas with people, is that when you start talking about our country being like a better country, right? We got the people that say we're the Michael Jordan of the world, right? We're the Michael Jordan, the GOAT, we're the Tom Brady, whatever, right? Yeah. But then yet when you start to try to compare us and say, hey, well, this other player, this other country is doing this, they immediately want to go to like some country, and I'm not trying to knock somebody's country, I'm just being honest. Mm-hmm. They go to some country who's like, in a sense, like third world or whatever, very like a country that's still very far behind, and they want to compare Michael Jordan to some scrub who's never even made it to the NBA. Yeah. But then somehow, so my connection to this is saying, we don't compare ourselves to some country that is just, they're just not on our level. Yeah. There's great things about America. That's what we love, but we're trying to make it better. So if you're the LeBron James of the world, trying to come up, you look at what Michael Jordan did well, and then you try to emulate and or improve on that, right?
So the thing is, though, and I love my country. I'm an American through and through. The way we fix this shit, Wes, is we stop fighting each other. We stop fighting each other, and we start getting together, and we start making this the best country that's ever been, whatever, right? We can 100%. Do it. Like we have so much potential. Can do it. We have so much potential to get there, but we are letting these politicians and these rights and these liberals and all of this just two-party system thing separate us so much, and it's insane to me. It's insane to me because I know if we all put our brains together.
Oh, dude.
Like, could you just think about it, Wes?
The
We
working
stop
class
fighting each other for 5 seconds.
Yeah,
Just 5 seconds.
humans are amazing, man. Like, I'm a big, like I said, I'm a nerd at heart, and so I read a lot of like science journal stuff, right? I love, like astrophysics. Even though I mean, if I'm sitting here with like Brian Greene or Neil deGrasse Tyson, right, my mouth is closed. As much as that might not be believed to you, but like they're two astrophysicists. But Neil deGrasse Tyson's amazing. Brian Greene's amazing. There's a bunch out there. But anyway, when you're reading about like science and you're reading about like what humans are capable of, man, there's so much stuff out there that people develop. Like that, oh my gosh, what was her name? This lady that just developed a, God, this thing is crazy, but it basically it will collect the trash in the ocean, and it's like a floating, and it turns it into, it's a whole recycling plant. And it's
no, I saw that.
Dude,
so it goes around,
yes,
right? And it picks up the trash.
Yeah.
How?
And then the inside of it, and it's up, and it's being powered by solar and wind.
So
does
it just pick up the trash, or
and then it recycles it, and it turns it into recycled products ready to be used?
I saw a little short video there. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And it was a female. Cool. God, I feel so bad. I can't remember her name right now.
But could you imagine
a female? I believe she's in another country. God, I feel so bad. I usually remember this shit, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
could you imagine?
Humans are incredible.
If we stop just for 5 seconds with the conspiracy theories, with the fighting about political affiliations. If we just stop that, all of the noise, and came together, and I know it sounds so freaking liberal of me, but it's the truth. It's the honest truth.
And anybody who's like fighting that doesn't want to work with, and I'm talking like legitimately just thinks the other side, and you hear me say this all the time, if one side was doing everything so right and the other side was doing everything so shitty, the other side would not exist. Yeah. So if you really think about it from that perspective and go, wow, clearly, right, like, what if somebody is so far on one side or so far on the other side, you're really your own mirror image. You're really the person that you supposedly can't stand. You really are. You're the person who only watches Fox News, OAN.
Yeah, there's
news,
nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion, man.
Yeah, of course.
It doesn't mean,
But it's like they get so mad at like somebody watching only right. So whatever, they'll get mad at somebody only watching CNN or MSNBC or whatever. Yet they do the exact same thing. And that's why I say they're their own mirror enemy, so to speak. And if they would realize that and go, hey, wait a minute, I'm only watching CNN, MSNBC, but then I chastise and or talk shit about somebody watching Fox or vice versa, right?
So I'm glad, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you touched on that point, because I tell myself, I give myself 1 day a week to watch Fox News, okay? Yeah. But the other times I can't do it. Like, I can't sit there and watch that channel 24/7, right? So I watch CNN and I watch MSNBC, just because I feel like I'm getting the most truth from them. Yes, they're dramatic. I get it. Like, they're overly dramatic.
On DirecTV called News Mix.
Yeah.
So watch that.
the thing is,
got all 4 of them up there.
Yeah.
And it really saves you time, because if you turn it on at like 9 o'clock at night, you can watch like the first 20 minutes of CNN or something, and then you just rewind it, and then you watch like the 20 minutes of Fox, rewind it, watch like the 20 minutes of like BBC, and you've got all of their like top 20 minutes in, and it took you 1 hour. That's what I do every night. It's like 1 hour.
Oh my god! But I get it. Like, don't
makes it efficient.
Don't sit here and think that I don't understand that CNN and MSNBC aren't dramatic in their reporting. Right? Yeah. I get it, but I'm gonna sit here and tell you they're not lying. It's not conspiracy theories 24/7.
Yeah, MSNBC is probably closer to like on that side. Yeah. I think CNN is probably the best one to like, at least are there times, and I go after them all the time. Anybody who doesn't think I do, go check my feed. There's no way you can tell me I don't like hammer these guys pretty equally. But I do think that like there is I do think that if there's a gun to my head and someone says you have to pick CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, and which one do you think is being the most honest? I definitely would say it's CNN.
Oh, absolutely.
After that, probably MSNBC, then Fox. And then it goes Newsmax and OAN.
No one can tell me that CNN's not the number one. I mean,
at least
people,
like being like relatively like trying to be honest. Like
yes,
there's times where they spin shit. And
they
I'm like,
spin it. Everyone spins it, but it's like, but okay, so that doesn't make sense what I just said, right? They're telling the truth, but I feel like it's just because one day I was watching CNN, you know, throughout the day, and they kept showing the Capitol riots. Yeah. They just kept bam. It's just like enforcer. It's just like trying to get it. Fire hose down my throat. Yeah. Like I get it. Like that's kind of what I don't like about CNN.
Yeah.
But
and that's what I was just saying to me too.
Yeah, it's just
and that's what they all do though, and that's why I tell people go watch all the networks. Like go get sources. Stop like when I get into debates with people, I tell them right at the moment we start having the conversation, I go, listen, get your goddamn phone out because I'm not going to sit here and like listen to like CNN.
You.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Listen to CNN or MSNBC or Fox News and say that these are I have to go through and look at sources and go, okay, if they all agree that the truck was red and it took a right turn, if all of them say that, then I will go, okay, cool. That is factual. The moment they start changing shit, I go, let's go find, if we don't have a video of it. So again, sources, like I go to .govs, .edus, .orgs. .orgs can be sometimes dicey.
You get into it, man.
Yeah.
That's what I appreciate about you.
Yeah, because if you go down good sources and stop thinking that like, I'm not saying that people aren't lying to you, but go through sources and verify multiple sources and good sources, right? And the next thing you know, guess what? You're going to likely have a 90+% of the facts. The other 7 or 8% might not even be that big of a, might not be conducive to the story any fucking way. So who cares, right?
You're right.
Like I don't need to know if Kenny or Wes was wearing a black hat or a green shirt. In theory, if Wes murdered, Sally, I just need to know like the meat, as they say, the meat and potatoes of it. Yeah. So if they start trying to say, oh, we think he was a liberal or we think he was conservative, it's like, listen, it's just like, I don't really care unless the murder or something was because of that, which we've seen. But that's different.
I'm with you.
Yeah, like if it was just like somebody got in a fight and it had nothing to do with their political sides, I don't really care to know all the little dumb shit about, oh, they went to this school and that's what they try to do to everybody, and they try to overload you with a bunch of bullshit.
And that's how they pit you against each other. Like that's how you do it because we've all...
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, oh, she's a bartender. Oh, so apparently that's not like a good profession anymore. Apparently like a working class person is a scum, but yet these kids, like we talked about at the very beginning, that came from like wealth, had every fucking thing handed to them, want to talk down to people who had to work for every step of the way, and then talk about freeloaders. Yeah. Dude, Paris Hilton types and all the Walton kids, and I can just go name after name. You want to talk about freeloading? You didn't do anything to earn it. Trump did not do anything to earn that money. He came out of a vagina. His dad handed everything to him. You have to be a buffoon to lose the money that he's lost. And so when we look at that stuff, back to that sports analogy, right? The meritocracy that we have, we look at these people and we keep, like demigods. We keep thinking, they must be really smart. No, dude, they're not smart. They just had a shitload of money. Like if you or I had family that had even, $10 million. First of all, our podcast would probably already have 1.5 million subscribers because we'd be paying for it to all have like advertising. We wouldn't even probably be doing it. We'd be the heirs of some company, and we'd just be sitting there like jerking, finger popping each other's assholes, and jerking around and not doing shit like Paris Hilton or like Kylie Jenner, and then be like, oh look, I created a makeup line. Oh, I must be a genius. Like, you think she has a rat's ass about chemistry? No. She went, mommy, daddy, I want to do a makeup line.
Get me these
Hire the best chemists in the world.
Get me these people.
Yeah. And it was just like, it's like, ta-da, come
and they're there.
Handle it.
And they're there. And it's $1 billion company overnight.
Some of the best chemists on the planet, right? And they're, there's a comedian that has Bill Burr. I love Bill Burr. If you ever listen to my podcast, Bill Burr, I would love to talk with you in person. I think you're an amazing guy. But anyway, one of his jokes where he's talking about, oh my gosh, for Apple. Yeah. I just drew a blank. Jobs. Yeah. And so he's talking about jobs, and he was just talking about how he was just sitting there probably walking around eating some pretentious fruit like a pear, and he's telling everybody like, you see all this music? I want all this music, all these DVDs in this device by this time tomorrow. And Bill Burr's joke about it is great. And he said, and all these people that did all the work are sitting there like, how the fuck are we gonna do this, dude? Yeah. How are we gonna get that into this? Happen. And he was like, go do it, go do it. And that's how I view these. Like, again, I'm sure a lot of them are good people. I'm just explaining. Yeah. They didn't have to like run thousands of wind sprints in the morning before school, and then go train before school and lift weights and do all this stuff and do jujitsu, whatever it might be, right? They didn't have to do that, and then after school do all this work just to like have a chance to be one of those 2% of people, which is the number statistically that 2% will make professional ranks. They didn't do all that to make that, but then they have the audacity to come back at somebody like AOC or somebody like Colin Kaepernick or, right, fill in the blank of whomever, who literally had to come up from a true meritocracy, and I would argue even more so on the financial or working world, that AOC, I mean, we know, dude, you start with no money, you are climbing a hill that is massive. Yeah. Right? And where they already started at the top of that mountain and you're in the bottom of the depths of the ocean.
Yeah, and then to try to climb that mountain is just, it's ridiculously
it's
hard.
Virtually impossible.
I look at that stuff, I look at that today, it's just like still that mountain that I'm climbing in my life, right? And it's just like, forever. And just to think that, like, if I just woke up tomorrow and knew that I had $1 million or $2 million in my bank account, just because I knew or I was related or born into it,
you wouldn't be intelligent to go buy a house.
You just wouldn't. Yeah, it's
a
just
chimpanzee,
like this.
A moron would be like, oh, I'm gonna go buy a house. Duh! I just came up like right now you don't have a mortgage payment. Yeah. So I mean, and we're just talking about $1 million. Yeah. Imagine if
that's all I'm talking about.
Yeah. Imagine if you, like I said, you're born to a family. The Walton kids are both. Yeah. I think they're at birth each were worth like $5 billion. Now they're like $25 billion.
It's like if you think about it too, like those kids, do they really know what's going on in their business? Like,
they don't need to. They just get.
But I would want to know that. That's the thing. Like,
that kind of cash.
Yeah, like I love the inner workings of a business.
I do too, but if you could be out on a $50 million yacht and dropping off in like some jet skis. I don't know if I would,
man. I'm a worker. I'm a worker. Like
that's because that's what we know.
Exactly.
But if you got pampered your entire life,
I don't know.
You'd probably be like real quick to be like that. So, but that's why we bring this up, guys.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's great way of looking at that.
It's all how you've been conditioned. I mean, it's just really sad, and there's a lot of people, and this is something we'll probably talk about quite a bit. There's a lot of people that they grow up in a certain way, right, where they grew up, and this is another thing I say all the time, right? And people go, well, why does this like fill in the blank gang, whether it's a white gang, like maybe some Nazi gang, or Crips or Bloods, or like a Mexican gang, like MS-13, or something like that. They're like, why does this happen? And they act as though that all of these people just chose that lifestyle. Yeah. Well, the reality is that what they saw was, well, I grew up seeing society not caring about me. So if society doesn't give a shit about me, why should I give a shit about society and follow like laws and play all these little games that in my view, right, if I grew up like that, and I did kind of grow up pretty poor and felt that way for the most part, that society didn't give a shit about me. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so if you think like that, and rightfully so.
And the thing is, you're right. I was a latchkey kid. My mom freaking went to work every single day. Yeah. I had a comfortable life. I had everything I wanted, but I was home by myself, right? Mm-hmm. So I could have had that mentality, okay, I'm going to go out and do whatever I want to do. I can get into trouble. I could take this left, right, but I decided to be a productive citizen of society. But again, I understand exactly what you're saying, because
I got in a lot of trouble
if you come up without that structure, you can turn left really, really easy.
Yeah, and that's why we talk about this, guys, is because part of not getting honest information, part of not deliberately not teaching our kids things that they should be taught, not having livable wages. This stuff is all intertwined in this conglomerate of why so many people that grow up in like rough neighborhoods their only outlet, right, is the true meritocracies, sports, music, right? That's why they go after that, and then they get chastised for it, right? Then they get,
because they made it out. They get chastised.
They get chastised for it.
Or they get chastised for kneeling for the flag. But, we talked about that.
I mean, LeBron is hammered all the time, and I gotta be honest with you. I'm a Michael Jordan guy all the way through. I think LJ is probably 2 or 3. I think Kobe's right there. Personally, I think he's maybe 2. But the point
Kobe
that I'm making, yeah, I think Kobe was fantastic. But listen, like when it comes to LeBron, the man, dude, and Michael Jordan, forever, if forever you're ever listening to this, I love you to death, bro. I think they're amazing, one of the most amazing athletes. Even Tom Brady said when he won his 6th Super Bowl, which made me have another notch for Tom Brady. He said now he's tied with his hero, and he said the best. This is on the stage at the Super Bowl, and I said, "Say Michael Jordan, say Mike," and he did, and I was like, "You mother, I love you for that."
Yeah.
But no, so like when it comes to the man, right? If you want to be the basketball teacher and taught by I think Michael Jordan was the guy that amplified everyone. LeBron does too, but I think Jordan just was on another level. But when it comes to LeBron, the guy, versus Michael Jordan, the guy, the man of who they are, I think LeBron's a better person.
You have to understand too. Yeah,
I mean, he was homeless for like 80-some days in 4th grade. He missed 80-some days of school.
Yeah, he came up in a different way.
He was homeless for like a year.
Even
but,
Michael's parents were Michael Jordan's parents were middle class parents. Yeah, so he had a great family. It's just about again
really loving mom and dad, which makes a big difference.
Yeah, and then LeBron James grew up with virtually nothing. So for him to give back. And then to be criticized in different ways.
Yeah, fuck everybody for that. Yeah. Like, honestly, like that.
I agree with you.
I think he's a fantastic human being. Yeah. I think most of the time that he's ever had a microphone right in his face about something, dude, he's fairly articulate. Yeah, he usually has a very good train of thought.
No one can tell me anything about LeBron James, the man.
Yeah,
I hate him as a player. I can't stand him as a player. I can't.
I mean, but as a man,
everything that he's done on the court
and
is
sometimes,
second to none.
And sometimes that's how it is. I tell people all the time, like, Tiger Woods, and not to get another person, but just like sometimes you admire somebody for their game, and kind of that's Michael Jordan in a way, right? There were some outside of the game issues with Michael Jordan where he was kind of
gambling.
Well, I didn't care about that. It was there were some things that he did that were just kind of like, a little sketchy. Like Tiger Woods, it's like, you're cheating on your wife. All right, cool, the relationship's over. I get it. But everyone going after him, it's like, dude, it's one of the best, if not the best golfer. I mean, I think he's the best golfer I've ever seen. Yeah. And I'm not going to sit there, like I said, I could look at some guys or girls, right, and go, Serena Williams. I could look at her and go, fantastic tennis player, fantastic human being. But then you can look at like a John McEnroe, who was kind of like fantastic tennis player, but like horrible, kind of a sketchy human being. And so some people are like that. And some people you just got to go, listen, we got to be able to separate and understand.
I love that analogy, dude. Yeah. You're speaking to me tonight, dude.
Yeah, it's just like
sometimes you got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah, and sometimes you got to recognize what they are.
You got to recognize who they are and just go with it a little bit. You know what? We got to talk about that a little bit more on the next podcast because I think that the more that we accept people for who they are, the better we'll be.
And recognize your relationship with them. Like, what is your, what is your relationship? Not every relationship has to be like yours or mine. It could be something where like could just be transactional, and if both people agree to that, that's okay. Yeah. I'm a personal trainer. Some of my clients, I'm very personal, so I tend to become very close to people. That's just me. But I've definitely had people that was very transactional, and I tried. I did my best to befriend them just because that's who I am.
Yeah, that's you. I know that was tough for you because you don't like transactional. I don't feel like that.
Yeah, but at the same point, I recognize
have a big heart, though.
Yeah, at the same point, I recognize it, and I said, hey, listen, if that's what that is, then that's that relationship, and don't push it away or hate it. Just understand that's what they want out of it. And so don't get in your feelings, right? And vice versa. Some people, maybe I didn't really find them appealing to become friends with, and I felt more transactional in my past career, 100%.
Yeah, sure.
And so it's the same with athletes. It's the same with politicians. We gotta view them for what they are. And if you happen to know AOC, I would argue that I think she's probably a really good person. I mean, almost everything I've ever seen about her. It comes across as very genuine.
I feel I agree with you. I feel like
whereas Chuck Schumer, I probably wouldn't hang out with in the least.
I would probably hang out with Chuck.
Oh, and I'd probably tell him, like, get your shit together.
Yeah, I'd be like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And AOC, stop being so damn dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, these are the conversations that I'd have with these people, but I don't think that they're bad people.
Yeah, they could be
I mean?
super nice. Nancy Pelosi is probably some super nice lady.
I don't
just
understand
a
why
wretched politician.
I kind of like her style, though.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm gonna get shit for this, but I do. I like her style.
Pulls
She's
off
because that's
move.
how I am. Like, I'm just like that. Like, I'm just like.
Oh, I love sometimes the bad guys.
Yeah,
like, there's parts of Trump that I even laugh
sleeve.
at, dude.
Yeah,
like you can't argue that Trump didn't say some funny shit sometimes.
Of course,
it's funny when he wasn't president, though. And I was just like, oh, this guy's a fucking jackass. But when he became president, I was like, okay, dude, like now you're scaring me a little bit because
that's what he meant. He meant those things.
Yeah. But like I've heard Joe Rogan talk about this, and I agree with him. I think it's funny when he did that whole post about "Don't worry, Greenland, we won't do this." Yeah. And he posted a picture of Greenland with a big Trump tower. I was like, dude, that was funny. I was like, it's fucked up, but it was funny. Yeah, so like, but yeah, guys, just recognize your relationship with people.
Recognize that.
We will definitely have this conversation, these types of conversations.
We got into it today. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved our conversation today. Again, we need to. I can talk about it until I'm blue in the face.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the more that we listen to one another, the more that we listen to other people's opinions in there, whatever, the better off we're gonna be, guys. I promise you. I promise you. Stop fighting one another, especially here in America. Stop fighting one another.
It's not gonna get better, guys.
Sick of it.
By the fighting. It's not gonna get any better. So at the end of the day, that is something that we would like to talk about next week on next week's podcast. So lastly, we'll give you guys, where to find us. You guys probably will also have that on the screen itself. But you can always check us out on all the different places that podcasts can be found. Obviously, Spotify, Apple, the Apple Store, Anchor. We'll be posting videos on YouTube, on Facebook. You can email us. Where's our emails at, Kenny?
Email us at knewell@unfilteredidiots.com and metro@unfilteredidiots.com if you have any questions, comments, concerns.
Yeah. And like I said, man, we'll have all of our different addresses for you.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna get a TikTok going. We're not gonna dance in the TikTok. I don't think that's our.
We might do that.
We might.
But yeah, man, love you guys. Let us know. Again, any critiques, and it's my last thought of the day. Peace and love. Love you guys.
See you guys later. Thank you.
Peace. Is it doing a time?
Oh, we live. Episode 4.
Motherfuckers. Alright, and then are we leaving? I can always see it. I want to see
good.
Cool.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Okay. Don't repeat myself. Just kidding. What are the things you're supposed to do? Babe, the dogs are out. The dogs are out. Upstairs in your kennel. You motorboat son of a bitch.
Look at my class.
Shady, come here. Come here, Shady. Shady, come here. Shady, come here. Shady, come here. Come here, bro. You guys are all big jerks.
Can you turn that thingy?
What is it?
Oh, good catch, man. Damn, that would have sucked.
Yeah, it'd be like.
No, the.
This?
No, the.
Oh, the length?
No. This thing.
Oh, my bad. Ha ha ha. Kenny has to see himself. So vain.
Because it'll be like that one time where it just stops. And
we're like, so anyways, guys, we're making all these great points. Everyone's like, dude, it was awesome. And then actually it'll probably, well, at least that will record it. It'll just save in increments on like our phone. All right. Okay, I think we know all of our opening. So, you know what we need to figure out? Oh, we'll talk about it. But we need to figure out how to get words on this YouTube screen. I think it's in maybe
the captions?
so obviously we can name it, but I'm talking where people will have like.
Can you edit the thumbnail?
Is that what it's considered?
That's what it's called, the thumbnail.
I know, but I was trying to figure out how to do that.
We need a thumbnail back.
How do we do that? I saw a thumbnail and I tried to do that.
If you give me the username and password of the YouTube, I can do that.
I tried to go in there and do that. Like, I tried to go in there and put a thumbnail and it was like, didn't do it. I don't know. It's weird. Maybe because it was already published. You know why? Maybe because it was already published. You have to do it before it publishes.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
Alright.
Alright, word. So.
Look me up on Google, search the classics, you crazy bastard. Hold me up and pull me down. It's a battle royale in the eye of the storm. Drowning in the shallows when the path is getting narrow. I'ma ride it out on this broken arrow. Fuck it. Hold me up.